This video response is going to go out to Amanda Coffman, and that's because you recently resigned your position as a teacher in the state of Kansas. And for the most part, I agreed with every reasoning that you gave out in your presentation. I actually got to watch the whole thing, and I watched all of it, and I agree with most of what you said. There was one statement in there I will address later on in this video, but I want to address what I agree with first, then I'll address what I don't agree with, and I'll show you why I disagree with it. Okay. Alright. Apparently, Amanda Coffman was not very pleased about the contract negotiations for teachers. Okay, apparently in this Kansas school district, they were renegotiating the pay contract with the teachers. And she was upset about two things. One, the classroom size. I mean, apparently she's getting more and more students she has to teach all by herself. And then on top of that, she was not being compensated well enough for that either. That's perfectly understandable. But we have to first go through the parts of her speech. She gave a big speech, and I'll go through the parts I agree with and the one part that I really disagree with and why. Well, first of all, Mrs. Kaufman and many of her fellow teachers have concluded that they are overworked and underpaid. Okay, fine. They have tried to negotiate with the school board for several months. That's unfortunate, but okay. She requested to meet with the school board, but the school board sent a lawyer to meet with her instead of meeting with her themselves. This is what threw her over the edge, at least academically, that is. Alright. Mrs. Kaufman wanted to give her students one last lesson, so she starts her speech by saying, hey, I'm going to resign effective immediately. Fine. She started by saying that just because a person can do something, that doesn't necessarily mean that they ought to do it or that there's a good reason for doing it. Okay? I totally agree with this statement. Just because you can bungee jump doesn't mean you should bungee jump. Not necessarily a good idea, but whatever. Alright. According to Mrs. Kaufman, the school board was expecting her to accept the contract she was offered, and then apparently the school board, for some dumb reason, was starting to lie about, I don't know exactly what the lies were they were telling about the teachers, but apparently they were bad enough that she finally had to take a stand. And I'm sure at some point she'll probably clarify, and that's fine. If you're upset about that, so be it. She didn't specifically state what lies the school board was stating. I'm sure if I did enough research I could find out. I just didn't take the time to do that at this point. I'm sure that if she ever watches this video, she probably will look that up and tell us what was going on. So I'm sure she'll elaborate on that point at some point in the future. Again, I had no problem with that. Okay, if this school board is doing what she claims they're doing, that's not very nice. Okay? They're not being very considerate of her. It looks like that they were berating her and her fellow teachers and also belittling them and basically just dishonoring them. Okay? From what I understand. Now, of course, I don't have all the details, so I don't know, but from what I'm getting so far, that's what she's claiming they're doing. And if true, then she has reason to be really upset. Fine. Okay. I also agree, just because you can accept less pay for a service that you provide doesn't mean that you should accept such a payment. I mean, let me tell you something. If you go to the task of constructing a wooden rocking chair, and you value that rocking chair to be a certain amount of dollars, and somebody says, hey, I'll pay you half that amount, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to accept that offer. You could if the rocking chair was taking up space and nobody else was wanting to buy the dang thing, and then you finally say, okay, well, I have nowhere else to get rid of this thing, so here you go. Or you could get on the internet and you could try to offer it to somebody else to see if you can get a better price. And I honestly agree that if you can get a better price for something, take it. Okay? You don't have to. You could be nice. You could say, hey, I understand your financial situation. I'll go ahead and do this. But otherwise, So, when do I begin to disagree with what Mrs. Kaufman was saying? Well, it's when she started to state that respect should not have to be earned. This is a very dangerous statement. And I'm going to show you why this is a very dangerous statement. Now, I certainly can comprehend. People can make hasty word choices, especially if they're full of ire. I comprehend her ire. I totally agree with it. I also understand how hasty she was. Fine. She found out that she didn't want to deal with this situation anymore and finally said, I'll just write up a quick speech and I might be tempted to do the same thing. But as an academic, you have to be careful, because if you're not careful, you can say something that inadvertently can be very dangerous. And this is a very dangerous statement. And I'm going to show you why. Okay? So, first of all, the statement is false, and I'll show you why. The etymology of the word respect consists of the Latin prefix re, which means back, and the Latin word specere, which means to look. So what you're doing is you're looking back. And as the word evolved, it was looking back with reverence. Okay, it finally evolved into the definition of looking back with reverence. All right. After a while, it got the connotation of something you should give special attention to. Okay? The definition of regarding a person with reverence was added around the 1500s. You can see this for yourself, and I'm doing a live stream right now, and as soon as this live stream is over with, in this particular video, and I'll go ahead and post it in the live stream too, I'll put some hyperlinks down here in the description below so you know exactly what I'm discussing here. Respect, if not earned, can be demanded by complete fools. And some good illustrations of this can be found in the hyperlinks below. You can see this for yourself. Also, respect, if not earned, can be devalued and lead to the absence of value. It means you can lose the value of the word respect altogether if you use it frivolously. Respect that is not earned finally ends up with the absence of value. Okay? So, I think what you were looking for in this particular presentation was you wanted these people to give you some common courtesy, and they didn't. And that's what upset you. Fine. But use the word courtesy instead of the word respect, because respect must always be earned for these reasons. Okay? So, think about this for a second. Should we respect teachers that force United States students to recite the pledge of the Mexican flag? Now, I know you didn't do that, but there are teachers out there who actually have done this. And I have an article that proves that they did this. Should we respect a teacher that forces her students to recite an Islamic prayer? I know you didn't do that, but we have teachers have done this. You know, you're saying they're saying respect should not have to be earned. Well, yeah, I think it should. And this is why. Because these people were demanding respect without getting enough qualifiers, if you want to say it that way, to say, you know, I am showing you why I deserve respect. Okay? So, this is why respect should be earned, because when people do stuff like this, we shouldn't respect them. And now you can see why. Okay? Now, I think personally that The word courtesy or honor should have been used instead of respect. That would be a lot more accurate of a description of your situation than the word respect. You're more than welcome to disagree with me. I think I've clearly proven my case. And even at that, honor should have to be earned too, but courtesy should not. Okay? But I think a better approach in this particular situation, because these are fellow academics, you should have put you were actually being presented with an honor challenge by the school board. You should have put the ball back into their court. How could you have done this? Okay, well, I'm going to propose how you could do that. You could have asked them some questions. Ask them questions. Instead of them asking you questions, you should be asking these questions. You could have said, do you think my credentials are not sufficient enough to deserve a raise? Or do you think I haven't had enough experience as a teacher? Or do you think I'm so intellectually inferior that I couldn't negotiate a contract effectively with your school district properly? Had she done that, I think she would have had a better chance of getting their favor. Okay? Now, after she made this erroneous statement of respect should not have to be earned, which is false, and I have clearly proven that to be false, she also stated that a person doesn't have to be silent about an issue just because they can be silent. I agree with that, 100%. But the final thing you did was you stormed off. Okay, I don't answer to you anymore. Well, in this respect, or I wouldn't even say respect, that's kind of a cheap shot. I would say in this particular instance, in this particular situation, that would be the better word. In this particular situation, okay, see, even I fall into that trap, and I'm trying to teach this. In this particular situation, what you should have done was you should have said, as you are well aware by now, I am no longer employed with you, and I have no desire to answer any more of your questions. And then quietly bring your stuff together, and with head held high, walk off in a dignified manner. I would never have stormed off like that. And your students cheering you on for that, I felt was wrong. I really did. You need to act like a professor, and professors don't storm off like that. They walk with a stride showing how intellectually superior they are to the ones that they've had to take on in an honor challenge. You should have walked away in total, complete, upright dignity instead of just storming off. If you allow your emotions to get the better of you during a presentation of that formality, you're actually losing your honor challenge instead of winning. I would not have done the same. That's just me. Now, if you're wanting to know my academic credentials, I've had 2 years of COBOL, which requires you to have an in-depth knowledge of accounting, computer tech, high-end mathematics, and how to do etymology. And I know all four. So I actually am semi-fluent in Italian. I do know quite a bit of Latin myself. So I do know how to make a formal presentation if I must. Furthermore, I do, and I have clearly proven on my YouTube channel that I know a great deal about mathematics, so I do know a lot about logical reasoning. And I do know how to make formal presentations. And I'm techie enough to operate most equipment. Printers are a little different. They are so variant, and I can say the same thing of smartphones. There are such variations that it's a little difficult to have all the material on every single aspect of a phone. Now, iPhone's a little different story, but Androids are so varied at this point that it's a little hard to do that. But that's beside the point. The point is, I have proven myself to be a true intellectual. I do know about honor challenges. I do know about Roman forms. And what you did here towards the end of your speech, you were starting to lose your honor challenge instead of win it. And I'd like the next time you take a challenge on like that to actually win. You may not have realized it, and that's fine, but hopefully this constructive criticism will actually improve your arguments in the future. And I hope you present this to your students so they can make a better presentation the next time they face a challenge like this. You are more than welcome to debate me. I would be more than happy to do that. But in the meantime, I hope that you can take what I've said and improve yourself. And I hope you do. And I hope you teach your students the same thing. Alright? So, that's all I've got to say about this subject tonight. I hope that you have a good evening. And I thank you for watching. And if you're not Amanda Coffman right now, and you're watching this video, you are more than welcome to contact Amanda Coffman if you like. And I hope that what I've said here tonight makes you a better teacher. Alright. Thank you very much. You have yourself a wonderful evening. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.